Well, it's early August and it is really close to planting time. Some of you, that time has already passed. We'll talk about that. And every year, for many years, 10, 12 years, I would look at the forecast, 45-day forecast, 2-week forecast, 1-week forecast, and look at those certain dates that you should be hunting. And it doesn't matter if it's late September, mid-September, October, anytime, December, November. You can look at that weather, and that's what's guided me to success since the early 90s. Literally, that's why I shoot the bucks I do, how I do. I have those opportunities created by the weather. You look at the extremes. I like to look at the extremes of everything. In food plotting, for example, if it's going to be dry for 2 weeks in the forecast and it's 0 to 25% chance and that's it, maybe you get a shower in there somewhere, but the odds aren't very good that you're going to get a good catch with your seed. And it's no different with hunting big bucks and trying to go out there and shoot the oldest bucks in the neighborhood. They might be a 2-year-old, they might be a 7-year-old. It's all relative. But bottom line is, if you're going out in weather, really hot, really windy, thunderstorms, blizzard, if you go out in those extremities of weather, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities at big bucks. Sure, they're out in the woods. They're still out in the woods during the daylight, but it doesn't mean they move or they have to move. And it's the same with your seed. When you're planting your seed, if it's really dry, and that's what's in the forecast, don't expect a lot of growth. And the problem is when you plant without moisture in the forecast, and you notice on here, I've written down a bunch of numbers over here. Those are all percentages of potential rain in the forecast. Now I know when we get out here, this is all the way to September 5th, these are very inaccurate, but they will show trends, especially as it relates to temperature. When you see big jet stream changes, then you see big temperature changes. And a lot of times those jet streams you can see 2 weeks out. That's why in predicting the weather and looking at algorithms and on HuntCast through HuntWise, you can see those major changes coming 10 days to 2 weeks out, and it's not that much different with planting food plots. You really need to look at it. Think about this. You plant your food plots, you don't get any rain for 2 weeks. You're planting smaller seeds, brassica, clover, chicory, bird's foot, trefoil. You plant those seeds, a lot of those are going to dry up and die by the time you get moisture 2 weeks later. So your food plot's going to look terrible. You might have planted on time, but you didn't have that moisture, and so your food plot will be horrible. On the flip side, you plant 2 weeks late because you see that rain, you wait for that rain, and not everyone could do that, I understand. But you wait 2 weeks, you plant your food plots, you're going to have, your food plot will be 3 or 4, several times better, catching that rain right away and getting the most effective use out of your seeds as opposed to planting early and they all dry out and die. So that moisture is really critical. I always look at there's a drop dead date for everywhere. You know, around here, I'm planting my own personal. I'm looking at the 8th, 12th, 13th, 8, 12, and 8, 13 of August. That's my date. I'm in southeast Minnesota. Perfect time for brassicas and greens. And, you know, of course, we're not talking about corn and beans you planted a long time ago, but that's the perfect time. That's when I like that they're not getting too mature, because all these fall crops can get too mature, especially when it comes to brassicas, even buckwheat, peas. You can get your plants too mature and they're starting to turn stemmy and they're not as attractive. Tillage radish is one of those things. So tillage radish, there's different radish varieties that plant and grow at different maturity rates, and that'll affect seed blends for myself personally with my own company in the future. You know, we have our Big Boost brassica and our fall power greens. Those mixes will change every year, like my mixes have changed every year since '99. I'm always searching for that latest and greatest best mix that I've experienced with that I can plant myself, recommend to my clients. I'm planting the 12th and 13th. That's perfect around here. That's perfect for southern Michigan, northern Ohio, over into Pennsylvania, even into northern Iowa. It's a really good time frame around there that applies to so many different people. Northern Illinois, that's a perfect time frame. So a lot of people are saying, boy, I got to get out on August 1st. August 1st is the early side. I want to look at this forecast right here. This is from August 1st to September 5th. And we'll look at these dates. These are all percentages right here. And we'll just talk straight percentage. If I was an early August planter, meaning extreme northern areas, meaning northern Wisconsin, UP and Michigan, northern New York, North Dakota, around those lines, northern Minnesota, looking at those northern areas, extreme northern areas that experience frost right away. I might even go into early July. I might have already planted here. But I'm looking at the forecast, 55%, that's on August 1st. Then it goes down to 25, 7, 25, and then we get that 80, 80, 29, 29, 55, 40, 40, 50. Folks, it's going to rain. You look at that time. It doesn't matter if it ends up taking 3 days. A lot of times when it's dry, you see 80% chance, 88% chance right there, right in the beginning. If it's dry weather, that means it might rain on the 3rd day or the 4th day or the 5th day. It's got to take a while to push that dry air out, and that happens a lot. So you really look at your humidity levels. Right now we're at 90%. We were yesterday, so we had some thunderstorms last night. You can almost look at the humidity and say, wow, it's 91% humidity, we're going to have some rain, and it did. But when it comes to this week, or this 10-day period, 8/1 to 8/12, we're looking at this period right here. Those are just percentages of potential rain. Who cares about the temperatures? I don't even look at that this time of year, other than knowing what to wear when I'm on my client trips. I really don't care. It's more, what are the percentages of rain in the forecast? That's all you need to focus on. This right here is a great planting window. If you're in that window, getting your seed out on the 5th, the 4th, the 6th, the 7th, you're going to have rain. It's really good percentages of chance in the forecast if you're in that zone. You get here to 8/13, 8/24. Look at that right there, 65, 25, 25, 20, 70. I would plant before this time frame, the 20th, 25th, 25th, percentile right here. And that gets you to the 19th to 24th. If I was in this time frame right here, that's when I would plant. I would plant right before there. I'm not going to plant right here. A lot of people just go plant because this is X date they have off. They plant right here, and then you get all this dry weather. Well, what if it doesn't rain until the 70% chance right back over here? Well, if you plant on the 25th, you save yourself 6 days of the seed just sitting there on the ground, rotting and dying. You don't get rain on the 6th, at that 65% on the 19th. Then it's only a few days later you get it at 70%. So you really need to look at those time frames coming up and say, if this is my time to plant, this is that forecast window, plant at the back side of the dry period, not the front side. It'll give you a lot more volume. It gives you a chance to address your weed concerns. You go out and say, well, man, I planned on planting on the 12th, but there's drought in the forecast for 2 weeks. Well, kill your weeds. Make sure if there's any green weeds coming up, you kill them, get rid of them. You even have time to put out 2,4-D for noxious broadleaves that are going to outcompete your food plot seeds. So make sure you take care of your weeds. That's what I've always done. I'd rather take care of my weeds and plant late than have weeds and plant on time with moisture in the forecast, because those weeds are going to take from your food plot. And no, they don't add any nutrition or attraction going into the fall. When all the weeds are dying, turning brown, you want to have food plot volume. Who cares what's there during the summer if deer hit the food plots better? I say that continually, and I'll keep harping on that, because a lot of people are being misled right now that weedy food plots are good. They're attractive during the summertime, but so what? You don't build a herd during the summertime. You build it in the fall, and if the weeds are taken out of your food in the fall, you're wasting your time and resources, and you can't build a herd. You can't build a hunt if you can't build a herd, vice versa, on private land. So this right here, I'm waiting till then. And then we get into this 8/25, 9/5, and this would be, again, that West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Southern Kentucky, maybe even as far down as Louisiana, Alabama. But you're looking for more that September 5th time. We start looking into this, even if you're in that extreme area, you see this 61, 2%, then 62, 55, 0, 65, 29, 1, 56. What a great time to plant right in front of there. Again, you don't care when it rains during that time. You could even wait a couple days there, because then you still have 55, 65, 29, 56 in the forecast. Really watch the forecast, guys and gals. It's really critical that you do that. You have to have that rain for good germination rates, to make the most use out of your seed, to keep from killing that seed. And again, you're always better planting off late. When I get into it's not going to happen, I don't think, but when I get into the 12th, 13th to plant that weekend, and I don't see any rain for 2 weeks in the forecast, I'm going to hold off. I'll hold off a week, because my drop dead date around here for planting brassicas, for me personally, what I like would be August 20th, August 25th. I'd much rather have my brassicas growing by then. But if it's dry, I'm going to wait and plant. You have to do that. The timing before rain is more important than the actual timing on a date. Far too often people say, what date should I be planting? Well, when's it going to rain? When's it going to rain in your area? You look at this forecast right here. Where's this from? Does it really matter? It doesn't. Apply these percentages, but I'll tell you, it was Lancaster, Ohio. So anybody down in Lancaster, Ohio, this applies to you. We just pulled that forecast this morning. We tried to use something kind of central, not too extreme north, not too extreme south, just something central in the country that applies to a lot of people. And even if you look at this forecast, if you're in Wisconsin, you could probably plan on, I'm looking at, there's rain in the forecast right now for this area. It's because we had rain yesterday, last night. So about a day later, it's over there, a day and a half. Pennsylvania, usually about 2 days behind us. This is about a half a day earlier than central to eastern Pennsylvania. So you can have similar percentages, and it's going to change a lot north and south. So, yesterday, we had a good thunderstorm last night. It went down through Coon Valley, place I hunt in Wisconsin too. But Dylan was up in Stevens Point, and you didn't get really anything, did you, Dylan?
We got heavy winds and some good light show, but not a lot of rain.
Oh yeah, we actually had that light show about, boy, there's so much thunder and lightning. It was really cool. We were actually out on the property last night and doing a little cruise, changing some trail cameras right at dark. I mean, literally we were turning the phone on to look at the camera while we're setting it in the tree. That's how busy the schedule is sometimes. But the light show was so strong, we didn't even look at the weather. We just said, we got to go. And so we got off the property and then looked, and it wasn't even to Rochester yet, which is like 45 miles to the west, and it wasn't even 30 miles from there. So we were just seeing the light show from, had to be 60, 70 miles away. We're up top here. It was really cool, so really pretty. But Lancaster, Ohio, and I want you to take these percentages, that's what you're really focusing on. We have another video coming out where we're talking about the timing of what relates to the north and south and why. And I can tell you right here, I'm looking at greens. I'm looking at not cereal grains. I'm looking at, we have our Big Boost brassica. We have our fall power greens right here. That's a mix of buckwheat, peas, and tillage radish, the perfect blend. Got out the oats because the oats end up, when you put it in a high volume, which most people plant too much, they're choking out everything else. We had a WHS green blend at Northwoods Whitetails. That's a mix that I used about 12 years ago, 11 years ago. You can actually see there's a picture of myself with a buck, and it's in a green field. That's from that green blend, 2013, in that season. So we started planting that 2011, 2012, right around there. I have tried to dilute those oats. Also the beans. Most people are using minimal tillage when it comes to food plotting out there. And beans are great when you drill them in, get them in a 1/4 inch. You have a good thatch layer of buckwheat, which we do. But a lot of people don't. It's eaten, drought. There's a lot of drought this year. So I get the beans out of the mix because they're not predictable. The buckwheat's more predictable. The tillage radish is highly predictable, and the peas are moderately predictable. So I want something that you can throw on the ground, experience really good success. But you take these dates right here, fast forward 4 to 5 weeks into the future, that's when you need to be planting your cereal grains. Not together. You separate these. So we're planting our brassica, our greens, and then 4 to 5 weeks later, which for us is early to mid-September, we're throwing those grains on. The cool thing about the grains, in most areas, as the season progresses, you get more and more rain. Most places, drought isn't in November and December. Could be even September down south. So sometimes it's really weird. Down south, you can have a shorter growing season because you get a lot of rain going into November, late October. You even start to experience some frost, but you don't have a lot of rain in September and October. It can be early October. It can be a very dry period. So then you're trying to plant and jam everything into a 6-week window. And you have those short planting dates, maturity rates. And so we'll talk about that in the future because we're slanting all our plantings towards this change. But bottom line is you can't plant those together. I saw a mix this morning. It was various brassicas, sugar beets, wheat, rye, oats, all in the same mix. Folks, we learned not to do that over 20 years ago in the early 2000s when I was experimenting with food plots. I even wrote about this a lot in Quality Whitetails for the QDMA, Michigan Out of Doors. Started writing articles in 2003, 2004, and in through the 2000s a lot. So we were experimenting with these food plots. We found out you do not do that because, for example, do you know rye can actually kill brassica? It turns it yellow, doesn't allow it to grow, not appreciable. So even though it might still be there and be 10% alive, it's not adding anything, doesn't grow. So that's why you don't plant these all together. There's weed suppressants in some of these cereal grains. They take out the rye. Clover can be okay, but you don't want to plant a lot of rye first. You want to layer it. So that's one of the reasons we started layering, where you plant rye with clover at the timing date for rye in the fall. Then you layer another 100 pounds later over that, and then in the spring you mow out the rye, and you're left with your clover. So that's a good practice, but you still have to plant a little bit lighter for clover because even though they don't compete for the same nutrients, they compete for the same sunlight. Bottom line is, really look at these forecasts, understand the percentage, and plant with rain. I talk about lime, pH levels being so critical. Do you understand pH? That's why we use the plot start, because I want my crops to be able to take up the nutrients. People spend way too much money on fertilizer, and if you're not addressing the ability for the plants to take up the nutrients, whether it's changing the pH with lime or using something like plot boost, so it changes the soils to allow the plants to uptake the nutrients, then you're not going to get any growth. It doesn't matter how much fertilizer you put out. You have to correct that first and then go forward. The bottom line is, if you don't have rain, nothing's going to grow. No matter if you have the right pH, no matter how much fertilizer you put on, no matter how much plot boost you put on, if you have drought, it's not going to grow. The cool thing is, when we're getting into the fall, we all can take advantage of increasing moisture patterns as it gets into the winter. And again, you're better off planting 2 weeks late with moisture than on time, quote, on time, with no moisture and experiencing failed food plots going into the hunting season. Hope you can apply these numbers to your own forecast this year. And again, we'll talk about timing as it relates to all this in other videos. Bottom line is, I hope you guys check out the food plots seeds that we have available on our store, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. You can find that. I put a link in the description every time. We're working diligently to get those out the door as soon as possible. We're working hard at that. We're making changes so that we make sure that you guys get your seed on time. We won't accept anything less, and we're working hard to do that for you. And we appreciate your support, watching the videos, and best of all, best of luck this year with your food plots. I wish you the best of luck and success, and I can't wait to hear about it in the comments below. Folks, I want to make sure you check out my web class video series, whether it's how to design your food plot program or how to design your property in general. And we have a new one coming out that'll be how to hunt the rut. But these bucks back here are a testament. Some of these bucks go back to 93. They're even in different states. I urge you to check out those web classes so that you can help yourself, help your land, help your hunt. The link is in the description. And also for those that have tried them out, I encourage you to offer some feedback in the comments below. Thank you.